one of the things we talked about last week was MrBeast's fear of AI overall. And he literally said something kind of after Casey said, we're cooked. He basically said, so scary. I'm really scared. And over the last week, Adam Mosseri, the head of Instagram, went to a Bloomberg kind of live event and did like a 30-minute conversational interview with them that we're going to talk a lot about here in just a second. One of the things that he did was push back on MrBeast a little bit. And so let me read kind of what happened from the transcript. He says, it's scary times for creators. I don't need to explain who MrBeast is. This is the interviewer. I don't need to explain who MrBeast is. He posted this on Threads. This was his Thread post, which is your platform. He says, it's scary times for creators because of these generative AI tools that are coming out. What do you think? Should creators be scared? Is this scary times? And Adam says, I think things are changing quickly. And I think that means that a lot of us, whether you're using a platform like Jimmy, MrBeast, or you're building a platform like we do, on our team, we're having to think about how do we evolve what and how we do it, what we do and how we do it. The jobs are changing. And so I don't think that technology is from the creator side is going to replace creativity. I think it's going to change who can be creative. I think it's going to change how people tell their stories. But at the end of the day, I think that people have creator and creatives, they have their taste, they have their processes, they have their judgments, they have their cultural commentary, and they're going to use those in a different style than before. Because to produce a video isn't going to require what Jimmy has historically done with MrBeast and these huge sets and these amazing elaborate production teams. It's going to be something that anybody can do with access to the right model. And so the commentary around this, I think from TechCrunch is where I heard about this in the first place, was that, oh, well, Adam Mosseri is saying, well, MrBeast doesn't need to be concerned about AI because, you know, like it's not going to replace him. Like, you know, these are the things, like he's still going to have taste. He's still going to have all these things. But right there at the end, he's like, oh yeah, anybody can do it. Which means that in my mind, I'm like, well, that means more competition for him. Right. And he goes on to kind of say other things. He's like, oh, well, you know, there's not going to be these synthetic videos that are all over our platform. He calls them synthetic, which is AI generated. And there's not going to be purely organic things. There's going to be these hybrid videos and things like that. And he kind of goes along and basically says, oh, well, you know, MrBeast doesn't really need to worry because he's doing his own thing over there. And so I want to hear what you think about that and what your reaction to his reaction to MrBeast is.
I don't think Adam has the ability to be 100% honest. And it was very revealing with one of his answers. The interviewer asked, hey, what do you think about TV and what's Instagram going to do to roll out to TV, right? And he was very hesitant. Okay, now, for obvious reasons, what if they're working on something, they have to keep it, a secret, or they don't want to do the big reveal? The point is this. Most creators are probably pretty transparent when they're talking about content creation in the context of that type of discussion, right? Where they're talking about platforms, creating content creators. But I just think he's going to tell you whatever he thinks would be good, both for his boss and the platform, boss being Mark Zuckerberg, platform being Instagram, what they're doing, as well as what's going to be inspiring for creators, while seemingly being truthful and transparent. So that's how I look at everything that he says. By the way, a lot of respect. I think that he's one of the most successful. Is he a CEO, right?
Yeah, I don't know what his actual title is.
Oh, he's
but
like
he's
the head of
product,
Instagram, right? I've actually been to an event where he spoke, which was really cool in Seattle. So this is not to downplay, you know, what he's done and what he says.
But he's got incentives. Is
exactly.
What you're saying.
So I take it with a grain of salt, almost everything he said. But you know what his discussion with this guy actually made me think about? At one point, blogs were laughable, and no traditional publication, including newspapers, ever thought they'd be a threat. Blogs go viral. Blogs become a thing. Everybody starts reading blogs, okay? YouTube comes on the scene. They're like cat videos or this guy at the zoo, you know, filming an elephant. Bam! Creators are born, and traditional media has competition. Musically, short form videos, that's for the kids. Bam! Turns into TikTok, creates Reels, YouTube Shorts, and now it's like a actual competitor to long form video, okay? Oh, you know, like that's none of that will work. AI videos, everyone's gonna like want real stuff. Got a whole platform now that people are just obsessing over, probably gonna get addicted. I know secretly too, people are using AI in ways that's they're just not revealing because it is kind of weird or kind of different. and bam, you got AI videos. The point is this: there's always innovation. There's always something new that people question. But the early adopters, right? The people willing to, tinker with it, experiment with it, get obsessed with it, usually kind of win. So to me, that evolution is always the case. What's that have to do with creators? You can either be the creator that's going to be the old fogey and say, oh, that's not going to replace this. Or you can pay attention to it, embrace it, or be like, what is going to be different? See, I think Meta's number one big problem, and I've been a user of Facebook since the beginning, 2004, 2005. Me and Judy probably grew one of the bigger influences or platforms on Facebook when it started using video early on. We're talking 2013, 14, 15. No one was thinking about using Facebook as a creator, and we did. So have a lot of respect for the platforms, including Instagram. They're just always trying to play other people's game. I think this is also, you probably could speak to this way more. They're like a copycat type of like a team, they do it, and they do a great job at it. And guess what? The biggest reveal and evidence of this, them doing reels.
Yeah. We're actually going to get to that in just a second.
Yeah.
Can I roll it back just a second before you finish your thought there?
Let me just do one thing though. So my big takeaway from that whole conversation and everything that he's saying in terms of creators and AI production, and we won't be replaced. You will be replaced if you don't do something different or do something better, right? But if you do play with these new tools, if you do something different or you do something that there's a demand for and there's not enough supply, you're going to still be relevant. I mean, this is not a new phenomenon. AI is new, but I just went through the evolution. Exactly. The dynamic isn't. So to me, it's like, what are we even talking about here? Like, why is his answer so valuable? Well, because he runs Instagram. Well, dude, I'm actually more curious about, the 17-year-old is doing, right? Like, what are they doing at school? What are they doing at home? What are they obsessed with? Because that's the future. And to me, that's like a better conversation that I get to have, funny enough, because I'm around kids, I have kids, and that's more useful than what does this guy who's the head of a platform that we know isn't being that innovative saying about, what creators are doing. See, I always say this, creators actually know best. If you're in the trenches and you're creating content, you kind of read the green lines of the matrix. You are understanding of what is to come and what you need to do. If you're really honest yourself, those guys, remember, that's why I started with, I don't think they're totally truthful or transparent, because they have a role to play for a business they have to serve for investors that invest in the company.
And like you said, they're bosses.
And whenever you have that dynamic in that case, it's like, take everything with a grain of salt. I think it's still a great, way to get information. Maybe think about what you should do or strategize. But if you're in the trenches of creating content, that's the best source of information. And all the best secrets for success in terms of being a creator always come from the doing of the creating of content, not of the talking about it.
Yeah, so you put more weight on, the thing that he's reacting to, which is MrBeast kind of being freaked out by it, I assume, and even Casey Neistat, like we talked about last week. Those carry more weight to you than the head of Instagram necessarily saying what he thinks about it.
And both of those guys, Casey and MrBeast, they're older guys now. They're not young kids, you know? Well, Casey's always been older, but I'm saying MrBeast, when he was a kid, there was this magic about, spending 3, 4, 6, 8 hours a day without having any kind of other priorities, and he was able to become a success. That's why kids with all the time in the world will often be telling you things of what you should be hearing. They don't even know that's valuable. Yeah. They just are spending so much time there. And so I think that, we're all older guys now. When I started, I was 25, 26 years old. Now I'm 40, right? 41 years old. So that's kind of my point. All these other people are looking kind of down on the platforms and looking back and thinking about the future versus if you're just right in it, even as a user that's going to high school and you're just using the thing that all your friends are doing, that's the real information that's valuable. It's just hard to see that when you're not part of that discussion, right? The
Exactly.
attention's not on you yet, but you are paying attention to the right things.
There was this other thing that he was saying, which kind of is related almost exactly to what we were talking about last week, where he says it's going to be, well, if you take a big step back, what the internet did, among other things, is that allow almost anyone to become a publisher by reducing the cost of distributing content to essentially zero. We talked about this last week. Before, if you wanted to make a video, you had to put it on a mini DV tape and send it to your buddy, or get it into a movie theater if you were lucky and have it play on the big screen. And then with the internet, it was like you just send a link and it's basically shared instantly. And then with YouTube, it was like, oh, well, if they promote you or they put you in the algorithm, well, dang, you're off to the races, right? He continues and says, and what these generative AI models look like they're going to do is they're going to reduce the cost of producing content to zero. We'll come back to that a little bit later. But what he says is that there's going to be a multiplier effect on the things that we're already seeing, which is that there's more people producing and more content reaching more people. So more people producing, more content. And he says there's a lot of good and bad that comes downstream from that, which is funny because that's exactly what you're saying. He's like, oh, well, there's good and bad that comes from that. He's definitely right. Of course there is, but like that's him playing his political game. Mm-hmm. What I hear that as from a creator's perspective is more competition. I know I'm going to keep hammering that home. More competition means that it's harder to break out amongst these things. And geez, man, that is a really, really tough situation to be in if you're going short form, where a lot of this content is going to be, and you're just trying to break out as a new short form creator. Well, now suddenly you're competing with the kid that you're talking about, who's just prompting Sora over and over again and creating funnier and funnier videos of Mark Cuban with AirPods in, and they're just going viral on both Sora and on TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah, I think that's always been the case. There's always some innovation, a new technology, or just a like novel idea that people pay attention to. That's the next thing that is going to be the frontier, and then more competition because it is easier. I think more than the cost of the production, I think the effort of production is more significant with AI, because before you had to at least record a video. You had to at least record a video and then post that video. Now you don't have to do either one of those because all you do is prompt it. And I guess maybe like there's a post button on the AI platform Sora, but I told you it took us 5 minutes. It took us 5 minutes for something that, I mean,
that would have taken hours before.
Could have taken hours, okay? Yeah. But let's say the equivalent in terms of entertainment value maybe took the 1 or 2 hours. Now we're doing it in 5 minutes. So just do the math. And let's just say 2 hours. How many times you can do that? You could like, what is that? Sorry, 12?
It's early.
12, 24. So you can make 24 of those for what you could have only done one in the same amount of time. So yeah, there's a lot of competition. This is how I look at it as a creator that's always looking at the next thing or the thing that no one's paying attention to. That's the whole point of this podcast and what we're trying to teach creators. For every viral thing, every new platform, for every new kind of format, like so let's take TikTok, for example, there's another opposite that no one's paying attention to. So for TikTok, it was short form, it's quick, you swipe through its algorithm. The opposite of that were just like 1 hour videos that had no editing at all. Yeah. No one ever thought. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, this should not work. Why is it like getting 1 million views? It was because there was an opposite for, you could actually say like the cool kids, they like that. When I say the cool kids, not the ones that are popular and doing what everybody else thinks it's cool. The really cool kids, they're like the rebels.
Yeah,
they're
leaders of the group.
Yeah, they're like
the early adopters.
They're beyond early adopters. They're like creating the thing that people adopt.
Yeah, sometimes they call them innovators.
Cool, innovators, okay? But secretly, and they're, who these kids are at school when you're growing up with them. You never thought they would end up doing anything, and then they're CEO of like a huge Fortune 500, or their startup goes viral and it's a mega success. Those people are doing something completely opposite than the thing everyone's paying attention to. That was long videos on YouTube. So what's happening right now? AI is going to create a whole nother TikTok. I mean, arguably, Sora is like the next TikTok, potentially. We don't even know, okay, if it's going to take off that much. But the idea of AI-generated content, that is the new short-form content. That is like the thing that you can make exponential. my thought is, what's the opposite of that? That's where I want to be, not because I am an innovator. I just like to become friends with those people. Actually, a little secret of my success, I just like find those people and I'm like, hey, so what are you doing? Like, what are you working on? Like, what is like working for you? And then that is what I try to do myself, because I know that will eventually become the new thing that everyone's trying to do. And so what is the new thing right now? And we talk about the new era: longer videos, more genuine, authentic, less produced content. And ultimately, I think in real life, live streaming, right, is, I mean, the big takeaway and what I'm obsessed with, because there's just less competition. And that's another secret too. Go where there's less competition and it's easier.